Hi guys, and welcome to Hillside Talks. I'm Maria, and on this channel we talk about everything simple living, intentional living, slowing down, how we can make our lives a little bit more restful and calm while still achieving the most important things in our lives. And today we're diving into a topic that I love very much. We're talking about priorities, and I'm not going to tell you any more than that. Let's just dive in. A few episodes back, I mentioned that a big change in our life can have the ability to make us stop and notice. And that could be like a big change happening in your job to make you notice that this job is actually not serving me. I'm always overwhelmed, I'm always stressed out, and it's not at all giving me what I thought it would. It could also be the way you spend your time. You might realize that you don't really spend a lot of time with family or friends. It could also be that you notice that you don't have any me time, time to just do what fills you up, to craft, to walk, to do sports. It could be anything, but having that time to kind of rejuvenate your soul is very important. And big crises in our life really have the ability to make us stop and notice. And in my opinion, sometimes that's the only good thing we can get out of those hard circumstances that we can find ourselves in. So to me, that means it's really important that we take what we can from those experiences and grab it, hold on to it, and move forward with it. Back in 2010, when I experienced my burnout, Morten and I, we really started reevaluating a lot of things in our lives. Have a tea. We realized that the way that we were living was not sustainable at all. We had way too much debt. We ran a company and finances was always tight, and we had taken out student loans to study before that. So in total, we had like debt to an amount of 90,000 USD, which is 625,000 Danish kroner. And I remember very specifically. And 1/3 of that was student loans. So we were pretty much drowning in debt since we didn't have a big income. We also realized that we were working way too much. All of our parents always worked a lot, but especially mine had really crazy long hours, and they ended up getting divorced, and that was not a path that we wanted to go down. So we really wanted to focus on building a strong marriage and spend time together. So we started by defining our priorities because there was so much stuff going on, so we really needed to focus. And we started by just jotting down on paper a lot of the things that we wanted, that were like core values to us, that we wanted to prioritize higher. But we also had some very specific points on there. And that could be like, if you want to go and travel for a year at some point, or bring your family on a trip to visit a country that you lived in when you were a kid. It could be anything. And it was a lot of fun. We just put everything down on there, and a picture kind of started to emerge. And what I always tell people when I've given talks in the past or done an interview is that it's really important to focus on the top 3 of your priorities, because if you have a top 10, which is great, and most of us will probably start out by narrowing things down to maybe a top 10, but it's really hard to achieve a top 10. And what will happen most likely is that you will get overwhelmed and not get anywhere, and then most likely give up or forget that you ever made that list. So what we did was we narrowed it down to 3, because 3 is manageable. 3 top priorities, that's doable. And the one that ended up at the very top for us was time. And people often ask us, well, time, but time for what? And we're just like, time just to be, time to breathe, time to go for a walk, spend time together and work on our marriage. No more of this too busy to argue stuff that we were kind of stuck in back then. And time with friends, because we'd been working such long hours that we really needed to invest back into our friendships. And also family and hobbies, and whatever it is that you also need time for. Time is just really nice. We put that at the top of our list. Number 2 was financial independence, and number 3, geographical independence. And these are very big words, but I think it's so much fun because now looking back on that list and knowing stuff about the Enneagram, it's so funny because Morten and I, we are type 7 and 8, if you know about the Enneagram. I'm going to have my friend Ellie on because she's a certified coach in the Enneagram. And I think she would have a lot of good insights into Enneagrams in marriages and if you want to make life changes or use your creativity and stuff. So that would be fun. But type 7 and 8 are the types that have the biggest need and hunger for freedom. And that's basically all that our top priorities were at the time. It was geographical independence and financial independence and just time. No one should be the boss of us. So that fact is kind of fun looking back, that it was that visible even back then. Once we set up our top priorities, we got straight to work. And the first thing that we needed to do was to settle our debt and get on a budget and start paying stuff off. We really needed to turn our finances around. So for us to do that, we needed to sit down with our investor. We did that. We made a plan of when we could get out of the company, and then we would know exactly what our debt would be. And I remember we were so serious about it too. We're like, we're never gonna get into debt again unless it's like a mortgage. And we've stuck with it ever since, and even saved up cash for cars and everything, vacations, travels. We never brought out the credit cards again. We also kind of had to figure out how to create an income that wasn't geographical independent. So something that we could bring along with us to go travel, which is something that we really wanted to do more of. We also started going on dates again. Very, very cheap dates, but dates. We found this restaurant in town that had these meals for 70 or 60 kroner, which is $10-12, I think. Asian place, great food, really good quality for the price. And we just became regulars. I think every single date where we went out of the house was to that place for at least a year or two. We also started having time to see friends again, invest more back into family, which was really, really fantastic. So slowly but surely we started turning things around. We did start building our own business very slowly as well. And then we also were able to start traveling. And according to our budget, there was absolutely no room in our budget to travel. But the way that we kind of solved that was, again, by applying some creativity. So we decided to rent out half of our apartment. So we had two kind of living room spaces. We had a kitchen in the middle, a bathroom, and then 2 bedrooms over here. So what we did was we rented out the 2 bedrooms on the left to a friend, and then we shared the kitchen and bathroom, and then we had the 2 joint living rooms on the right, which meant that we saved a bunch of money each month, and we were able to pay off our debt quicker and also travel during that time. And we always just booked whatever was cheap. I remember buying a ticket to Thailand because it was really, really cheap. And people were like, well, how long are you going to be there? We're like, we don't know because we haven't bought a return ticket yet. So we were just waiting for the prices to come down. We always lived locally, booked an apartment for a month or something, which is way cheaper than doing a hotel. We mostly did cheaper Airbnbs back when they were actually cheap. Now they're so expensive, at least everywhere in Europe, I feel like. And this whole act of minimizing our rent was a huge factor in us being able to pay off our debt more, and that and a very tight budget. The bank said that it would take us 10 years to pay off just the bank debt. That's without the student loans. It took us 3 years, we were done with the whole thing. So we were very, very, very determined and very goal-oriented, and we did it together. But I don't think we could have done it without having those 3 top priorities. Because Morten, for example, he had a few job offers that would pay really well, but they would want him to work a certain amount of hours and on a specific location. But that didn't align with our priorities, not with number 1, time, and not the geographical independence either. So it made it easier to make those choices, but it wasn't easy because we still needed an income. So it was always this balance, but it was very liberating and a great tool for us to have these priorities that we made together and agreed on, because that just made even the hard decisions easier to make. And we did reach all of our 3 priorities fairly quickly in the grand scheme of things. And they've changed slightly ever since. So we try to reevaluate them. Some things have moved down a little bit, some new things have been added. But it's always a journey and a process because life changes. And some of the core, more like value-based priorities, they're probably going to stay mostly the same. But some of the more practical things, they can move up and down. It's a flexible list. It's not like set in stone and this is going to be what you'll live by till you're 50. But knowing them and being intentional about living according to them is very, very powerful and liberating. And that is ultimately what we got out of it. And it's ultimately what I want for you guys as well. It's a way to simplify how you communicate and navigate in your marriage, in your relationship, or if you're single, alone. It's not as a goal, it's more values and goals mixed in together. And of course, they overlap. And there's really no rule to what you can put on that list. But it's just when we focus our attention to really develop into the people that we were created to be, that's when it becomes very powerful. So being honest about what is actually important to us. What did God put in me that needs to go on the list? Some things deserve to be on the list. And for me personally, time will always be at the top of our list somewhere, because I want to spend time with Morten. I want to have good relationship with my friends. So we block out time where we're phones off, no technology, just the 3 of us. And we do that every week. And I'm not sure that we would do that if we didn't have our set priorities, if that makes sense. So I really hope and wish that over the next months that you will look into this and dive into it with your spouse if you're married, and just have fun with it. Bring out a piece of paper. If there's 2 of you, bring out 2, and you can each just like add things, and then you can talk about it. What's important to him, what's important to you, and then work from there. So that is one thing that I'm hoping that you'll sit down and do. There's no downloadable for this. There's no PDF, because it's very simple. You just sit down, piece of paper, empty your head, and then look at it and evaluate and kind of figure out, okay, what's the most important for us? What's life-giving, and what did God put in us that needs to be used and activated? That's it for this episode, guys. I'm so happy that you joined me. This channel is still very new. And if you want to, please leave a comment, say hi, give it a thumbs up. It helps in the YouTube algorithms, and subscribe, because I would love to see you back here next week. I'm here every Monday with a new video. And next time we're talking about fall activities. We're going into fall break in Denmark. Yeah, I want to upload some things to prepare us to make things for Christmas, probably. So that's going to be coming up next week. See you guys. Bye.